This is a story of 12 men who transformed a jungle trail into a geometric kill zone, waiting for an enemy battalion to walk into their silent, pre-planned slaughter. It's a tale of the Australian SAS, who faced the impossible task of defeating a massive hidden army, not with numbers, but with the cold calculus of psychology, patience, and perfect timing. What unfolds will expose the brutal mechanics of a trap that could disintegrate a company in 11 seconds, reveal the superhuman discipline of men who waited motionless for days, and uncover the timeless combat principle that turns a handful of elite soldiers into a strategic weapon. Before we begin this journey together, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this story with someone who understands that the greatest force multiplier is the human mind, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The time is 0200 hours, August 19th, 1969. In the oppressive darkness of Phước Tuy Province, South Vietnam, Sergeant Roy Dodger Gillison has not blinked in 17 minutes. His body is a sculpture of stillness, melded into the roots of a strangler fig. Around him, invisible in the black, are 11 other men of the Australian SAS. They are arranged not as soldiers, but as components of a machine, a lethal circuit board wired to 200 meters of jungle trail. That trail, 50 meters from Gillison's position, is a known artery. For months, NVA battalions have used it as a conveyor belt, moving men and materiel south toward Saigon. Tonight, a patrol will confirm the traffic count with final, brutal arithmetic. What the advancing North Vietnamese column does not realize is that they are not entering jungle. They are walking into a calibrated kill sack. 12 M18A1 Claymore anti-personnel mines have been secreted in a staggered interlocking S pattern along the track's length. Each Claymore is a curved plastic slab containing 700 steel ball bearings backed by C4. Firing wires, like sinister vines, snake back to 3 separate control points. There is no angle of escape. Every potential route of flight is a pre-planned kill zone. The Australian SAS did not pioneer the ambush. What they mastered was a darker calculus. The art of making one patrol wield the concentrated fury of an entire battalion. The American doctrine was built en masse: find, fix, and flood the enemy with firepower. The Australians, outnumbered and operating in a constricted province, pursued a different logic. They could not dominate the jungle with numbers, so they weaponized the terrain itself. The events about to unfold on this unmarked trail would crystallize a singular, terrifying reality for the NVA and Viet Cong, that a handful of silent men could be more dangerous than a company of advancing infantry. And it all hinged on a 3.5-pound rectangle of plastic and steel. The M18A1 Claymore was an answer to an age-old infantry nightmare, the human wave attack. Designed by American engineer Norman McLeod, its concept was brutally straightforward. A curved face held 700 steel ball bearings in front of 1.5 pounds of C4 explosive. When triggered, it fired these projectiles in a 60-degree fan at over 1,200 meters per second, creating a lethal zone 50 meters wide and 2 meters high. A single mine could eviscerate a squad. But the Australian SAS saw beyond its defensive purpose. They recognized it as the ultimate force multiplier. The math was compelling. 1 Claymore equaled 700 projectiles. 12 Claymores, positioned correctly, could deliver 8,400 steel balls into a kill zone in under 2 seconds, firepower that could disintegrate the heart of a battalion. Their innovation was not the weapon, but the orchestration of its use. They transformed the Claymore from a trap into a precise annihilating system. Their masterpiece was the S-pattern ambush. Conventional wisdom laid mines in a straight line for broad coverage. The SAS saw the flaw. It gave the enemy a simple escape route to the flank. Their solution was psychological warfare crafted in high explosives. They would position 4 mines on one side of a trail, another 4 50 meters down on the opposite side, and a final 4 on the original side another 50 meters further on. Viewed from above, the kill zones formed a crude S shape along the path. The genius was in the sequenced detonation. The patrol waited until the enemy column's command group, officers and radio men, was adjacent to the center mine group. These mines fired first. The instinct of survivors was to dive away from the blast. Those diving to the east would leap into the pre-aimed kill zone of the northern mines. Those diving west would meet the southern group. Secondary detonations followed within 5 seconds, catching anyone still moving. In 11 seconds, the jungle transformed into a geometric slaughterhouse with no avenue of escape. This doctrine was born from necessity. With only 7,700 personnel in Vietnam compared to over 500,000 Americans, the Australian task force couldn't afford attrition warfare. Their SAS, operating in 5 to 12-man patrols for weeks at a time, had to be surgical. They were an elite forged by a selection process with an 80% failure rate, where every man was a cross-trained expert in demolition, communications, and field medicine. Preparing an S-pattern ambush was an act of obsessive back-breaking labor. Selecting the perfect trail, with dense foliage, a slight bend, and multiple escape routes, was just the start. Each of the 12 mines weighed 3.5 pounds. With detonators, hundreds of meters of firing wire, and all standard combat gear, each soldier carried a crushing load through impossible terrain. The mines had to be positioned at waist height and aimed with micrometer precision using simple metal stakes. Laying and concealing the spider web of firing wires without tangling or shorting was a task of immense patience, often conducted in total darkness. Then, the real trial began: the wait. Patrols would lie motionless for 24 to 48 hours in sweltering, insect-ridden humidity. Absolute discipline was life. A cough, a rustle, or the smell of food could alert the meticulous NVA point men. Men rationed sips of water, ignored biting insects, and fought muscular agony and mental fatigue, all while maintaining razor focus. Many waited only to extract with empty hands. Patience itself was the primary weapon. Their target was the NVA Battalion on the march, a 300 to 500-man column moving at night. The SAS studied them relentlessly, learning that the command group traveled in the middle, that rear security would push forward toward an explosion, and that spacing was designed to mitigate single blasts. Their ambush was designed to exploit every one of these patterns. On August 19, 1969, after a 3-week observation, Sergeant Gilson's patrol enacted the doctrine. They let the 2-point men pass. They waited as the seemingly endless column of troops, porters, and officers filed into the S-pattern kill zone. When the command group was centered, Gilson triggered the middle Claymores. The jungle erupted. The sequenced detonations unfolded as designed, driving panicked survivors into the overlapping secondary zones. In 11 seconds, 8,400 steel balls swept the trail. Gilson's men then engaged with rifles and machine guns for 60 seconds of controlled fire before initiating their withdrawal. The extraction under pursuing fire was a rehearsed ballet of covering movements and pre-positioned rear security Claymores. They reached a bomb crater pickup zone where helicopters descended through mortar and machine gun fire to pluck them out. The entire violent episode, from first explosion to helicopters clearing the tree line, lasted mere minutes. The aftermath proved the doctrine's devastating effectiveness. Battlefield assessment found 37 confirmed NVA dead, with 15 to 20 more probables. The enemy command group was obliterated. Captured documents, radios, and weapons provided an intelligence windfall. The cost? 1 Australian lightly wounded. 12 men had not just killed a company's worth of enemy, they had decapitated a battalion, crippled its communications, and seized its operational secrets. The S pattern turned a defensive mine into a weapon of strategic impact. The technique was rapidly adopted by Allied special forces, but its true success was rooted in the SAS culture of extreme selection, deep tactical understanding, and the operational patience few other units could match. It demonstrated that in asymmetric warfare, the precise application of violence by a few disciplined minds could achieve effects that thousands of conventional troops could not. The Australian method proved a timeless principle. Technology is just a tool. True asymmetric advantage comes from the man, not the machine, forged through ruthless selection, relentless training, and a culture that prizes intellect over instinct. Sergeant Bob Gilson returned home in late 1969, his war over. Like so many of his SAS brethren, he carried the lessons in silence. Those lessons, however, were universal. They learned that combat, at its core, is the domination of variables. Every element, from the angle of a Claymore to the second of helicopter arrival, was pre-calibrated to compress chaos into a manageable, violent instant. They learned that patience is a weapon system. The agony of stillness, the will to let scouts pass, the split-second judgment to trigger ambush, these intangible skills separated success from slaughter. Most of all, they proved that a handful of supreme professionals could paralyze a force 100 times its size. The S-pattern ambush is now a global textbook study. Its core tenets, surprise, overwhelming initial violence, psychological manipulation, and planned disengagement form the bedrock of modern special operations doctrine. While technology evolves, the deadly geometry conceived in Phước Tuy Province remains relevant. In the decades since, the SAS has deployed its hard-won philosophy from the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan. The regiment's legendary reputation for discipline and surgical effectiveness is a direct inheritance from those jungle patrols. 12 men, 8,400 projectiles, 11 seconds. It was more than an ambush. It was a statement of principle, written in fire and steel. The S-pattern worked because its creators mastered warfare's fundamental equation: victory belongs to those who control the variables.